Hi guys, welcome to the Design Shepherd. I'm here today with Cara and Halla, and we are in Cotton Studio in Bristol, and we're here to discuss colour. So first of all, I'd like to just give you a little brief overview of how we came to know each other. We've known each other for about, I reckon,
2011,
so it's about 8-9 years now.
Yeah.
And the way it all came about was I read an article, I think it was The Independent, all about grey and how grey was going to be the next big colour trend. And I was a bit incredulous and I thought, grey? And it was quite derogatory in the article talking about grey. So I thought, I can't judge myself if this is going to be a good thing for us going for grey, so I need to find an expert. So I googled and I came across Karen, sent her a message and asked her if she'd like to talk to me all about grey and this imminent trend that we were going to experience. And so we did an interview, which was received very, very well. We then turned it into a series of interviews all about colour psychology, where we explored different colours every quarter. So yeah, that was about 10 years ago. And now, excitingly, Karen has done a book. So we're going to be talking about that today. So what I did realise when I read back through all the blog posts is that I've never actually asked you your background, how you got started, how you discovered your love of colour. So if we start there maybe and you can talk to us about that.
Yeah, gosh, it's quite a long journey, so I'm going to try and see if I can how to make that short. In school, in high school, I loved art, I loved design, I loved crafts, anything I could get my hand to. I mean, that was painting, drawing. I did made all my own clothes, macrame, decoupage, you name it. I tried it all, but none of it really held my interest. And I would always be on to the next thing and be like, oh, okay, so I know how to do this now. On to the next one, on to the next one. And it was always this isn't it. But I never knew what that meant. But I just always would move on. And when I finished school, I fell into IT, so I became a project manager and a business analyst because that was paying the most money at the time of all the jobs, and I didn't really want to go to university because all I really wanted to do is go and travel. So I went and took that job, and but I knew it didn't satisfy my creative side because I'm very analytical, but I also love the whole creative side. So then I went and studied fashion design and pattern making, which I really loved, but it's a really cutthroat industry. It's really quite nasty, you know. Yeah. It's really hard, and I just knew I wouldn't survive. So then I thought, millinery. So I went on and studied millinery, and I really loved it. And so I went and did advanced millinery, and I thought, oh my God, I found what I really want to do. And then I was putting, I blocked this teal blue felt hat, and I was putting chocolate brown feathers and big feathers and chocolate brown ribbons on the hat. And then out of the middle of nowhere in the class that was really quiet because everyone's there's working away, and I just said really loud, oh my God, it's colour. And so the whole class stopped. They said, what are you talking about? And I went, I don't know. Like, I didn't even know where that came from. So I then went and found a colour course because of my history. I always just seem to do, a course. And it was with at the time it was called the Sydney School of Colour and Design. And it was a year-long course on colour theory, but really after the first night it was the colour wheel, and so I basically understood that in an evening and went, well, this can't be it. What am I going to do for the whole year?
Yeah.
So we just did exercise and different things around the colour wheel, but I was asking questions like, well, why do I like this colour? Why do I like this red? Why do I like it today, but why didn't I like it yesterday? Why do I love this yellow, this sunshine yellow, but why is it that my student next to me loves mustard yellow? How is this? How does this all work? What's this got to do with the colour wheel? And the teachers, they couldn't answer all my questions, right? And I am the ultimate wild child, so I ask 1,000 questions. And I finished that year. But then I went on to try and find every colour teacher I could, and in Australia, and and you know, I'd do a weekend workshop, and I'd ask one question, the second question, and by the third question, it didn't make sense. There wasn't a rationale, there wasn't a logic behind it, and I need that kind of logic, rationale to,
So similar.
to understand. So then when I went travelling overseas and you know, working, because in IT you contract, and I was, you know, my love of travelling, and so every time I saw a colour course or a colour teacher, I would go and do their course, but come very quickly to the end of their knowledge, only because of the types of question I was asking. Now, I did not know at that time what I was asking for. I had no idea it had a name. And looking back in hindsight, I was asking people these questions and they weren't trained in this area. So it wasn't that they didn't know for any reason other than it wasn't their area of specialty, you know. So just to say that I'm not, you know, dissing these people at all, it just wasn't their area. And then I was living here, it was probably over 10 years ago now, I saw yet another weekend workshop, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. So I go and do the course, the weekend workshop, and I ask teacher questions, and she answers them, and I ask more, and I ask more, and I ask more, and I ask more. And I think by the end of the weekend I had driven her completely nuts, but she'd answered every single question. And then I realised this thing that I wanted had a name, and it was colour psychology. So I didn't even know what it was called. I just knew I was searching for something. And then I went and did a year course with her, and her name's Angela Wright. So she's you know, the leading colour psychologist here in the UK. And yes, so for the whole year I drove her nuts asking questions. I know. I have a little dedication in the back of the book, actually saying that I'm so sorry that I basically drove you nuts. But then I realised that learning from her, I went further, so I learned applied colour psychology. So it's to do with colour palettes, the psychology of colour, and design psychology.
Okay.
So it was actually, I ended up learning more than I even realised that there were, you know, more than I realised that was out there, if that even makes sense. And that's when I went, I have found what I want to do. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to use this and apply it to business, apply it to home, apply it to clothing, you know. And I knew though that it was something, that colour was just the medium and colour was just the tool. I knew there was something far more behind it, and far more than emotion, because obviously with this book, you know, saying that colour is emotion, but it wasn't until I was 3/4 of the way through writing this book that I realised actually what it was about and what it was that I was tapping into. So it took well over 10 years for me to realise what, why I love the colour, why I loved it, and I don't know if I should. Do you want me to say that now? what it was?
Talk about that. First of all, can you just explain a little bit more about your job as an applied colour psychologist?
Oh, right.
So what does that entail? What do you actually do?
Gosh, what do I do? What don't I do? So, for instance, I believe that every business is in the colour business. So we take in colour before we take in anything else. So we're having an emotional connection with colour. And so when you're thinking about a business, we always buy an emotion, but we justify, we say we're buying, let me start that again. We buy an emotional reason, but then we justify with logic and rationale. So when you look at anything that you buy, we are, first of all, in those first few seconds, we are attracted by the colour first, and then by the shape, then by the style, then by the texture. There's all these other things that we then get drawn into, and by the beautifully crafted words of a website or on the packaging. But it's the colour that brings us in first. So when I work with companies on their branding, and I do this very different from a lot of other branding agencies or companies that work in branding. I work very much from the inside out. So I look to discover who the brand is, what they stand for, who they are as a brand, as a personality, because that is what we have the emotion, as the customer, that's what we have the emotional connection
with. You buy into people, don't you?
Yes, so we buy into people, but we also buy into the personality of the product. Now, it has moved a long way since I first started saying this. So 10 years ago, this was something quite quite new.
Mhm.
So there's been a massive paradigm shift, which is really what I've been working towards. So if we have a product, we see something in the supermarket, it's the colour that attracts us first because we are emotionally hooked in.
Mhm.
Then when we look at the typeface, we look at the design style. All of this also has a psychology to it,
Mhm.
because what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to attract the right target market.
Yeah.
And then the beautiful words on the packaging, this all then tells a story. And as a customer, we pick something up and we just go, does this get me?
Mhm.
You know, this is speaking to me, they understand me, so therefore I'm a part of their tribe. And that is what we're doing subconsciously without realising it. So really the work I do with branding, and even if it's a storefront, even if we're walking into a store, into a cafe, it is the subconscious message, which is the colours and the design style, is that matching the conscious message, which is the words.
Okay.
And when these two are in alignment, I might still say, I don't like that, but all I'm saying is I'm qualifying myself in or out. I'm saying this isn't right for me.
Mhm.
And as a brand, you want that because you don't want someone to come along, spend all that time, and then realise it's not right. Yeah. So therefore, it's already a warm lead. And this is when I work with small brands. I say when someone comes to your website and they're emotionally connected and they read the words and they go, this brand is for me, or this business or this consultancy is for me, the time they've picked up the phone to speak to you, you already know they're a warm lead, and it's just a matter then of qualifying that person in or out to see whether, because the business owner can say whether they want to work with that person or not, and then the potential customer says whether this is right or not.
Mhm.
And to me, that makes it much easier and works much quicker than having a whole lot of people that that come to you and they're not the right one.
Yeah.
I think in probably maybe 7 or 8 years ago, there was quite a trend for a lot of women's networking groups and a lot of women's businesses to be magenta, pink, and black. And I had a lot of women say to me, "Well, I'm using these colours because this is the new feminine, the strong, grown-up pink. Yet I'm not attracting the type of woman that I want. Why am I getting this certain type of woman?" And I said, "Well, because there is a certain type of woman that is attracted to that kind of colour scheme because they're also expecting a certain type of business from you, and they're expecting you to show up a certain way. And so if they're saying they're not happy with the service." It's not that you're not giving your all and you're not working really hard. Yeah. It's the way that you showed up, saying who you were, isn't actually who you are.
The expectation you created.
Yeah. So they've created this, and then they're feeling let down. So that's why it's about showing up authentically. Mm-hmm. So that's how I work with businesses, with brands, with same with the cafe. We will walk past 3 cafes until we find one and we walk in. It's because we think, they get me and I belong and I feel at home here. Mm-hmm. So that is what colour is doing all the time. It's creating this emotional pull.
We don't even realise what's going on.
No, it's subconscious. Yeah, we're only about well, I'm hoping by with this book coming out,
I'm over it now. I'm so conscious of it.
Will come out, but it was like 20% conscious. We were running about that much to do with colour. So
that was your journey. How you got?
I know. Sorry, it's very long.
How did this happen? How did the book come about?
Well, there's the old saying that there's a book in everyone. Because you want to write a book.
I have books in me.
You have many books bursting to come out. And that bursting to come out, I knew I had something to say, other than just being a chatterbox, right? But I knew I had something to say, and I'd written quite a lot of blogs. I mean, obviously I've written blog posts for you, I've done a lot of guest blog posts, get up and do speaking at events, teaching. I've been running very successful courses for design professionals for quite a few years now. And I just knew that I really wanted to share colour, and because people were just saying, I'm scared of colour. Yeah. And I'm thinking, how can you be scared of something that is so innately a part of us? When you think about nature, and the true seasons, not how we've manipulated them, but if we think of and all the colours in nature, which is like every colour except brilliant white, how can we be scared of something that's so innately us? And so the more I was exploring, the more I was writing, the more I got heckled in talks.
Yeah.
And finding out when people were saying, oh, what a load of rubbish, and what's wrong with white, and why can't we just all use white, and it, you know, it was becoming clearer and clearer to me is that we were scared of the emotion, but we were also then scared of ourselves, because to show up authentically and to show up as our true selves, that's a really big thing.
Yeah.
And when we're, you know, a lot of children are taught, oh no, you don't like that, you don't like that colour, you like this colour. So I hear a lot of adults making comments on children's colour choices.
I found that actually. My oldest, she's nearly 6 now, her favourite colour is navy blue. But that's because my favourite colour is navy blue. And if we ever, I was going to buy them some new cups the other day, and I said, oh, which colour would you like? Here's the selection. And she said to me, which colour do you like, Mummy? And I was like, no, this is about you. What colour do you like? But she's almost just stealing my colour identity.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to convince her to discover her own.
Right.
It's difficult.
Yeah. And sometimes too, especially little girls, they want to be just like their mum as well. So they want to be. Does your little girl like dressing up and like want to be grown up?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's probably, and so you're her role model. So you're her world. So that's, and so explaining to her that she could pick her own colour is something.
She doesn't want to.
No, she doesn't want to, because she might just be going through, I want to be just like Mummy phase. She will grow out of that. She will grow out of that, because she'll then be doing everything opposite. Everything opposite. So what was the question again?
We were talking about...
Oh, I forgot the question.
Writing a book, you have a book, everyone's
scared of colour, about little, you know, and even... And quite often we're scared of colour because as children, instead of being able to explore all that, you know, at some stage they do explore their own colour choices and what they love, because, you know, give a whole pot of colours in front of children and they just love it, they just drink it in. At some point, a lot of us in our lives, we get told our colour choices are wrong, or no, you don't like that, or we default to somebody else, and so therefore we don't trust our own instincts anymore, our own preferences, and we will look to magazines, we will look to colour trends, we will look to what else is going out there in the world, or even what our neighbours have, and we will want to be like them, and that's because there is a human need to belong, there's a human need to fit in, and there's a human need to be accepted. Yeah. And so we do that also with our colour choices, which is a bit of a shame.
I definitely found that. I have been petrified of colour, and I don't think it was because I was scared to show up as my authentic self. I didn't know how to match the two. I didn't know how to show my authentic self in colour, and it put me off for years making any commitments to colour. And it didn't help that I was renting, so I didn't really have much choice. But I really, really struggled. And like you say, people look to their surroundings and to magazines and to blogs. And doing what I do, I find it so hard. I find it so hard to make my own choices because I feel massively influenced by everybody else. I've never been a person to jump on trends. I always like to do my own thing and go my own way. But when you're bombarded day in and day out, seeing all these influencers, other bloggers, magazines telling you this is the new colour, you need to buy into Neo Mint or whatever it is right now. It gets in. It gets in, and then you start, even if you think, I don't like Neo Mint, I'm not decorating with that, give it a few months and you'll start liking it. You just can't help it, it just filters in. And I just became almost, I don't know, paralysed by indecision. And then I knew I liked certain colours, but then I was thinking, but will I go off it because it's a trend? Will I like something else next month? So I best not do anything. And that, it made me quite sad because I knew I wasn't living in an environment that was for me or designed for our family, but I didn't know what to do about that until I met you. Honestly, my fear of colour ended when we started to do those blog posts.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
It really did.
That's
it really
amazing.
did. And now I'm still not massively confident with it, but I know that as long as I choose what makes me feel good, then that's okay. That's a good start.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I don't need to live in a white box or a magnifying box.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think, when they are scared of colour, we last decade or so ago, we went through that massive white phase, and that's, I think, people reverted to, I don't know what to do, so I'll make almost a no colour choice, as in picking white.
Yeah.
And that's also shutting out any emotional noise, because if colour is emotional, we have an emotional reaction response. White is virtually, I can't say this word ever properly, but anaesthetize ourselves virtually of emotion by living in virtually all white.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this wasn't going to be my next question, but talking about trends and about the grey, was that a reaction to something? Because it wasn't like you said, it wasn't a colour of the year. It wasn't that it had been trend forecasted. It just came out, and then before you knew it, it was everywhere for years.
Yeah.
So was that something to do with the, society or culture or something that was going on here at the time? Or?
I think we just come out of that whole really white, that black and white minimalist phase. And it was a slow burner, the grey, but when it took off, it just went everywhere. But if you think about in the 90s and then the noughties, they call it, and then when the teens started, the political uncertainty and the unrest, and when we, as again, talk about the psychology of human beings, we need to feel safe. So the whole acceptance and the fitting in, that comes underneath food and shelter and the needing to feel safe.
Okay.
And when we feel safe, we all have our jobs, we have stability, we know that we have a job, because everyone, there was a time when everyone had a job for life. They would stay in the job and they'd be there for 30 years or 40 years or whatever. And when you feel safe and stable and secure, and you've got a house that you're going to live in, and all of those security and stability is there, then you start to become a little bit more adventurous, and that's when people go out, especially like this is really what happened, I think, in the 70s, is because there was a lot of that stability. They could experiment more with pattern, they could experiment more with colour. So that's why the big swirly wallpapers and the swirly carpet and the loads and loads of colour is because if you feel confident and safe on the inside, and you know the world is stable and your environment is stable, then you can experiment a lot more.
Yeah.
But as soon as you take any of those really important fundamental things away, and you don't know how long you've got a job for, you're on a 0 hours contract, you don't know whether your landlord's going to give you notice, or the political parties are changing all the time, and look at the mess we've got now. People then have a need to feel safe. And what they don't have space for is more emotional noise or clutter. And colour is emotion.
Yeah.
So white is like turning the dial right down, right? But if you go to red, that's like turning the emotional dial right up. All these bright, leery, loud, energetic colours, that takes a lot of emotion noise. So do people want to come home to a house like that when they've just been working and when on the, not knowing what's happening with their job, when on the news it's just chaos? Do they want to sit in this emotional upheaval? Because really, a lot of the colour can be too loud. So what they do is, the one thing they can control is obviously their interiors and what they wear, and they turn the emotional noise right down. And grey does that.
Okay.
Grey is the colour where people hibernate. Also, it's the colour a lot of people wear it. They don't want to be seen. They don't want to be noticed. They just want to go through. I remember I just had a lady recently said, when I do the school run in the morning, she said, I always wear grey because I don't want anyone to see me. Yeah, because she wants to slip in incognito, drop the kids off and be gone. She doesn't want to attract any attention. Whereas if she could wear red or yellow, even if you weren't looking at her, your eye would be attracted because of it's because of the wavelengths of light, and the red advances towards us so quickly that even in the corner of our eyes we would look and we would see the red. But with the grey, we don't.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the reasons why grey was so popular. And then it became a trend, and then everyone wanted it, and then everyone used it. And I knew it was only going to be a matter of time because it's not sustainable. Because what grey does is, people think it's relaxing. Now, if you're in a certain, there's a certain personality type that different types of greys suit, and we'll talk about that later. But on the whole, for the majority of people, especially here in the UK, if you live in every single room grey, you come in and you think, oh my God, it's calming. What it's actually doing is it's draining, but because you're, had such a busy day and you've probably just rushed in and there's been so much chaos, the mind, the body, everything. The grey you're thinking is calming you, but because it's draining, then it doesn't stop, it just keeps going, and then you get tired.
Okay.
So a lot of people were saying to me, I have grey in the bedroom, I go to bed, it's really relaxing, but I wake up tired. And it's because the grey was just continually tiring them. So they actually didn't even.
And does it make a difference what kind of grey you choose? Like you said, the different personalities, different greys for people. If they choose the right grey for them, will it still have that effect, or is it just a general?
So if I picked with my colour group, if I pick the right grey in that colour group, and I wear a grey, because I have a really warm grey jumper, and I will just wear that on the day that I'm at home, it's cold, I do want to hibernate, I just want to sit and just be just really quiet. But if my whole house was grey, because again, what's to do with the proportion.
Yeah.
So if I then painted the whole house in my right grey, it would at some point start to drain me, because you can use the right colour and the right tone for your personality, but if you use too much or in the wrong context, you can start to feel the negative of it.
Okay.
But most of us do have the wrong greys. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the other blog posts that we did, grey was the ultimate popular blog post for years, it has been, but what I'm seeing on my blog now is the Magnolia post that we did. And that came about because I was living in a Magnolia rental and I wanted advice. It's a bit selfish of me to contact you. I'm going to contact this expert to find out how to decorate my house. But
so you can get two for the price of one.
I could not think of a single colour that I could bring into my Magnolia rental that I thought would look nice. I would try to imagine colours and put colours next to the Magnolia. I just couldn't think what I could bring in to add some personality into this rental property. So I thought, well, there must be other people like me who are also living in a Magnolia rental. Their landlord perhaps isn't very accommodating, won't let them repaint. How do you work with those colours and bring that colour into your home if it is a Magnolia canvas?
Yeah.
So what's your advice?
Yeah, that is tricky. That is tricky. I mean, if you are the personality where Magnolia fits into that group, then you won't have that problem. But the majority of people in the UK aren't. And if you cannot change the colour of the walls, because it's the developer's favourite, again, it's a lazy colour choice, isn't it? It's a really lazy colour choice, and they'll just go, oh, we'll just put this up. But because it's a yellow, and Magnolia now seems to be any kind of light yellow, but depending on how much yellow is in it, because yellow is the colour of the emotions, and it irritates, and that's what people are feeling, and why people don't like living in this, because it is like living in a whole house of yellow, because there is too much. So therefore, people are having an adverse reaction to it. So I say, like what I mentioned to you on your blog post, was to try and cover as much as possible. So I suggested really big prints, and you went and you really liked. I know that you really like green. You really like that sort of forest green.
I didn't like it until you told me to try. I've never ever considered green for my home before. It wasn't anything that I particularly wore. I had no real relationship with green, apart from where I live is very green. So maybe I was getting enough green from living in the countryside. I never thought to bring it into my house.
Right.
But you mentioned that green would work, so I was like, so I need to go out and buy green stuff then.
Yes.
Let's do this.
I mean,
So
this plant here.
Yeah.
So this is a
Love
really,
that.
to one of these, like, because it's lovely and big.
Mm.
But even if you had that on a massive big print,
Yeah.
and you put in big bookshelves, just to try and cover as much of it as possible, because therefore, if only just a small amount is showing, the proportion
Yeah.
won't seem so overwhelming.
Mhm.
So that was but of course it needs to be a proportion that looks good and suits
Yeah.
you, because what you don't want to do is create almost a cave and feel like your whole house is,
Yeah.
whole room is coming in on you.
Yeah. We just tried to cover it up a bit.
Yeah.
We went out and we bought enormous, massive, because we had like one giant wall that was like the main focal wall when you walked in behind the sofa. So we bought massive giant prints in green and added a rug, and that really, really helped it straight away. It just diffused some of that.
And also,
took the focus
yes,
away.
it does, and then it because you don't feel the intensity so much, it doesn't overwhelm you physically.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the most ideal is always to change
Yeah.
the paint colour,
Yeah.
because even though you put green up on the wall, those two colours still might not have matched, tonally matched, and there might have been a bit of a mismatch. But there's just times that you can't do anything more than that. Yeah, and thankfully you liked green.
I loved it. And then we moved house, we bought our own flat, and then I was faced with the next challenge, which was, amazing, we have our flat, we can decorate how we want.
Yes.
Oh my God, how do we decorate an entire flat? I don't know how to do this. And luckily, I had read that you, in one of the posts or in something that you've done, to decorate each room for how you want to feel in that room.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like how to choose colours. Like if you are in that situation where you're moving into a new home, you can do what you want. How do you go about choosing how to decorate each room?
Can I say buy the book?
Buy the book, guys, buy the book.
So, it's in the book. So I was thinking the easiest way. So the easiest way I think to explain this is, if whatever room you're in, how do you want to feel in that room? And if you think, okay, and the typical one is, I want to feel relaxed, I want to feel calm. Now, there are 100 different ways that somebody can feel relaxed or calm, because my relaxed and calm could very well be very different to yours. So what I always say then is, what would you be doing in that room for you to know you were relaxed or calm? So would you be reading a book? Would you have your feet up? Would you be watching the TV? Would you be with your family? Would you be playing? I mean, some people relaxed and calm is playing games. How do you know that you would have achieved relaxed and calm, and how does that look like? What does that look like for you? And that's when I talk about behaviours. How do you want to behave in your space?
Okay.
Because quite often when you speak to someone about creating a space, they talk about, what mood you want to create. But you can't see a mood. Like, I can't see what mood you're in. I can see your behaviours, and then I know what mood you're in.
Okay.
So really, that's just taking it a step further. Then when you know what behaviours you want to create, or how you want to, how you would react and respond, and what your experience would be in the space, then it's to look at what the colours are that would help create that.
Okay.
And I mean, I can't go into all the colours now, but that is, that is in the book, about what colours create what kind of sensation, what kind of experience, how you feel. And it's then finding the palette of colours that will give that mix that you want, and the design style. And then you're on your way to creating what it is that you want for each space. Because what you want to be doing in the kitchen, and what your reaction, your responses, what you're doing, it would be very different to the living room, to the bathroom, to the bedroom. So that is how you can start to work out. And it's also what you're doing is you're influencing behaviour. So you're using the colours that you pick, you're influencing how you want to feel when you walk into that space. And that's why when you come home, you create, even the front door, your door is already greeting you in a certain way because of the colour.
Mine did.
When you walk into the hallway, you're already responding or reacting in a certain way, and so that's very much the angle that I come from. So I always start from the end. How it is, from the end result, and then I work forward to what the colour and the design style is. Not because if you start at colour, you'll be so overwhelmed. So when I work on people's places, when I do work on stores or even on branding, if I sat there in that meeting and went, oh, okay, so here's the colour palette, I lose everyone. They're gone. I wouldn't. You do not get them back because they are already emotionally hooked, and they're, oh, I like that colour, I don't like that, I don't like that. But if you start at the end, how do you want to feel in the space? What's the atmosphere? What the behaviours?
So you can discount colours straight away, and don't even show them.
Exactly, yes. So when I know that, and I say to them, okay, and I explain it back to them, that's exactly how we want to be behaving in this space. Okay, then here are the colours, or here's a range of colours that will create that response.
Okay.
Then if they turn around and say to me, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that, then I can have a conversation to the individual about that, because it's either a personal association they have, so a personal memory, it's a cultural reason, or it is a psychological response they've got to it. But at least I can then start talking about it, and we can have a rational conversation. They go, oh, okay, now I understand why I'm reacting that way. And if we need to tweak something, that's fine, but at least they can rationally think about it. If I just show all the colours, it just ends up being he who shouts the loudest is the one that gets the colour they want. And I'll go, even if I say, that's not going to get you the end result, oh, I don't care, I love that, I want that colour.
Yeah.
So I worked out from doing this for years and years, and the responses I was getting, and I was thinking, oh, I've got to do this in a really different way because this just isn't working.
Yeah.
And so that's why I start from the end and work forward.
So having said that, if you're doing that in each individual room, what kind of behaviour do you want to see in that room? How do you ensure the flow through the house? Because after I had decorated our living room and bedroom, I read somewhere that you also need to bear in mind the flow of your house and what colours, how you move through the house and how those colours sort of work together, which I didn't do. How does that work if you're looking at behaviours? Because it might not necessarily.
So when they said, did they explain why there needed to be a flow? And what the flow was? Did they explain what that was?
Just so that you don't go from rooms that are so drastically different.
Right.
But they should all have some kind of like thread that ties them.
And what's the thread?
Together.
Yeah, did they explain that? Yeah. See, so some of those things too are design aesthetics. It's a design style. So I've heard ones that you shouldn't have a colour only featured once in a room. You should have it more than once. So if you had a room that only had one orange vase, that's a no-no. You should have two. Like you should have orange appearing somewhere else. But that's a design style. That's a design aesthetic. The same as a design aesthetic where, just trying to think of another one. But the one you said about having colours going through continuously, that is also another design aesthetic. Or just having everything in wood, or having everything having a plant in every room. I mean,
that's not necessarily true from a colour point of view.
No, it's not that. I don't want to say it's not true. It is a design style, and there are designers that have that as their design style, and that is the way they design. But it's not that it can't not be used. You don't have to follow. The reason why I asked you what they mean is because I always want to understand the logic behind it.
Yeah.
What's the rationale? Because it's something I go, okay, now I know why.
Yeah.
It makes
when
sense.
When I read it, I kind of understood that to use colours that aren't maybe too jarring as you pass through, so that they kind of, you wouldn't go from like a red room to maybe, I don't know, a dark blue room to then a yellow room, so that they're all very contrasty. that to try and make sure that there's a more subtle change as you go through?
Well, some people love high intensity colour, and if that's their personality. A lot of the time what happens when it's jarring is because the colours aren't from the same colour family.
Okay.
And so when they're from different colour groups, that can make it feel very, very jarring. But if you have really strong colours and really strong primary colours, and they're the colours that you love, and you can get strong except one of the colour groups, but all the others you can get quite strong colours. The jarring is the emotional change. It's the emotional switch. That's what people can find jarring, because you've just come from a red room that's physically stimulating. Then you've gone into a blue room, and if it's a really strong blue, that's mentally stimulating. Two very different responses. That's what people are finding.
Right.
If you have colours that are all greyed out, but you've gone into a dusty pink room and you've come out into a dusty blue hallway, if we're following this same logic, it is still can be considered jarring. It's just that the only difference is that the emotional noise is being turned down.
Right.
So that's why I'm just trying to work out what the logic is.
Yeah. So is this, when you're talking about colours that work together in jarring, is that the tonal harmony?
The colour tone. Yeah.
So should we talk about that a little bit? Because in the book you say that it's a game changer and the biggest kept secret.
Oh, I think it is.
So tell us about this, because I feel like we all need to know this game changing secret.
Yeah. So I've just brought some colours here on us, and we've brought some. I brought some of my clothes. Some props. So this is one colour group, and you'll probably notice that this is actually the colour group that I wear.
Okay.
Now, I am going to talk about spring, summer, autumn, winter, but not like again, I explain in the book how this is very, very different. All the colours in each group, so there's 4 colour groups, each colour in each group tonally harmonises with each other in that group. And all these colours come from nature. So if you picked a flower, we can see which colour group it's in, because nature does this beautifully.
Okay.
And these colours have all been taken from nature and what truly shows up in the season, not what we have done. Because everything can bloom all the times of the year now, and we can get a spring flower blooming now in summer. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the true seasons. And every colour within each colour group, there's a mathematical correlation with each of these colours, which means is what makes them harmonise.
Okay.
If I took one of these colours out and put to another group, that's when we feel the jarring, and quite often people get a sensation, they get a feeling, something's doesn't feel right. It's because the colours aren't matching together. So these colours you can see are all yellow based, and they're all clear. There's a clarity to them. So these are all the colours that I wear. And I brought.
So you specifically try to buy your clothes in that?
I only buy my colours in this colour group.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's a nightmare because you cannot get colours in this country that doesn't make me look like a grown-up child.
Right.
So t-shirts, sports clothing, all come in these colours, and you'll probably recognise them. So this is a spring. So this group is called spring, but I call it playful because that's the energy of this colour group.
Okay.
So you can tell this is a very yellow. This is my version of neo mint.
Neo mint, yeah.
And then this sky blue. So you can see even here the energy of the colours.
Yeah.
Right? Now the next group is, would you believe, exactly the same as this group. The only difference is black has been added.
Okay.
So this is a warm yellow base, but there's just...
See, I love that. I really like that, but not so much that.
Yeah. Because of the black that's added to it.
I didn't know that was the reason. I've always just gravitated more towards those slightly more earthy.
Earthy. So this is autumn, or I call it earthy.
Yeah, that's what I came out as. I suspected I might be before I did the quiz.
Right.
There's a quiz in the book. Everybody needs to do the quiz. So the little blue quiz here, you have a load of questions to answer, and it will help you work out your colour personality. So I recommend getting the book just to do the quiz so you can work out what colour you need to wear.
Yeah, but there's more. There's 3 parts to this quiz.
Yeah.
People normally just do the quiz, and there's more parts to then work out exactly which is your primary and which is your secondary. Because people just do the quiz and go, oh, this is me, and but they haven't done the colour draping. They haven't done that final
I
bit.
haven't done the colour draping, and Karen sent me an email to say, can you bring along colours in your colour, clothes in your colour, and we'll do the draping. And I looked in my wardrobe and I opened it up and I was like, navy blue, navy blue, navy blue, navy blue.
Yeah, so we may
no, I can't bring any other clothes.
So we may not be able to, we won't be able to do it.
I've borrowed some. I have borrowed some, so we'll have a look.
So that's the difference. I'm not saying that this is like for like, because obviously you don't add black from this and you get this, right? But all these are clear, so there's a clarity in the colour. Yeah. They're also the colours that children typically respond to, and these are the ones that they normally gravitate to. And that's just the difference. You can just see. Yeah. So this fits into this group.
You can tell straight away, can't you?
Yeah,
it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. And quite often, it's say if a colour like this was here, and people just think, oh, it doesn't work. Instinctively, what that is, they're feeling the disharmony, and there is a dis-ease and a discomfort, and people feel it in their body. Actually, they usually get a real, like I kind of get a this where I can't look, like oh. So these are the 2 yellow-based groups, and then the other 2 groups. This is what we call summer or serene. So these colours are all blue-based. So this is yellow based, this is blue based, and then they've all has an element of grey in it. And this is typically what Farrow and Ball's, well, traditionally, they're breaking out into more colours now, but traditionally all of their colours were very, very, had a cold blue base to it and all greyed out. I don't think we've got anything here that's real Farrow and Ball hue in here. I was looking around it before, but navy does fit into this group. And then the last group is what we call typically winter, or I call it also minimalist. These colours, and unfortunately I don't have the really icy end, but if you think of frozen water, and it's that really icy blue, or you can get that very icy green or very icy pink, in clear frozen water. That's the lighter end of this. And then it's the really, really bold, intense, and really what should be in here is magenta. So that really strong magenta pink. And this is where black and white sits. It is the only group that black is in. Every group has its own version of white, but the pure white is what sits in this group. So these colours are also blue-based. So there's 2 blue-based groups and there's 2 yellow-based groups, and every single colour in nature fits in one of these 4 groups. The only colour that doesn't sit in any group is brilliant. Is what a colour is called brilliant white, because that's a man-made colour, and no one. We can't calibrate it. We don't understand it. Our bodies are trying, because all the time when we're around colour, we're constantly it's like we're sending out signals. We're constantly calibrating. I like that. I don't like that. Oh my God, that's exhausting me. That's wearing me out. You know, we're always doing this sort of like energetic calibration. And with brilliant white, we're just like, oh, what is this? What is this? We don't get it, and that's exhausting and tiring. It is the biggest seller, but I think it's the biggest seller because it's used in car parks. It's used in big industrial kind of spaces. But it's the one colour that I would always say don't use it in your home. Yeah, my sleeve wants to hug you.
So I was quite surprised because when I did the quiz, it came out that my primary personality was autumn and my secondary one was winter. And when I looked at the winter, I thought actually, when I didn't used to wear navy blue all the time, those were probably the colours that I would pick to wear, whereas those would be the ones that I would probably want to have in my home. And also, when I've had comments from people, I have occasionally worn a magenta top or a red top, and I've had loads of comments from people saying, that looks really good on you, you should wear more of that, which I haven't done, because I like that. But the red and the magenta, so people obviously do notice when you wear the colours that are you.
Right.
They do notice.
Yeah, but do you think you're a winter person? Primary?
No, not primary.
No.
Autumn was primary and winter came out as secondary.
Yeah, so you only wear the colours of your primary. The secondary personality type is to also help you with your design style.
Interesting.
Yeah, so...
that was how I automatically reacted to it. I was like, I'm drawn to those for my home, but I'm probably drawn to those to wear.
Right.
Which was weird. I didn't know.
Yeah, but so there will be a reason why you're drawn to these, but we can be drawn to colours to wear, but it doesn't necessarily mean that
they're the right ones.
That they're the right ones, or that it is us. Quite often, so there's three reasons why we will choose colour. It's to support how we're feeling, and just to stay that way. To change how we want to feel, or how we want others to interact with us. And quite often, a lot of women do wear black because of how they want to be seen, or how they don't want to be seen, because black is a colour that is a colour that recedes. So a lot of women that tell me they wear black so they are not noticed and they're not seen because they want to hide. And a lot of women also tell me they wear black because it's the colour that's sophisticated and the colour of glamour. Classy. Now, that is for someone who suits black, because a lot that wear black they then say to me, well, I find I have to wear a lot of makeup because I feel very drained. Now, if I wore black, all the colour would go from my face and I would have to wear a lot of makeup to try and bring my energy up over the black, to try and even bring my personality out over the black. And that's why I then wear a bright colour here, because the black is actually tiring and draining them. So if you wear the colours that suit you and from your right group, I've seen women in an instant put on the right colours, and I've just gone, my God, it's like you've just put on a face full of makeup, because it makes them glow. So black is one of those colours that, one of these sort of fitting in colours as well.
So I need to be wearing the autumn colours?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know what your primary is.
When I did it said autumn, but you sound like you don't believe me.
No, it's not that. It's not that, because I'm very... because when I do a colour consultation, it takes 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I do a much longer version of what... Obviously, the quiz is small. And I had quite a big discussion with the editor, with the editor of Penguin, about putting the colour consultation in, or putting the quiz in. Because I said, people are just going to do the quiz and they're going to go, oh, I got more in autumn and I got some in winter, so therefore that's what I am.
Yeah, that was my reaction,
Yeah, which has been everyone's reaction, because I get emails, I get phone calls, I get people stopping me and, virtually, literally stopping me in the street. Oh, I've just done your quiz and I'm this and this. And when I do the consultations, and then they don't read any further, right? So that's kind of, and the next bit is you might have had more in, right, so I'll say how I would have been. So if I had done this quiz if I didn't know anything, I would have come out as spring, but possibly more winter. Therefore, if I had answered got more winter questions, and if I stopped there, I would have thought that I'm a winter primary and a spring secondary. Therefore, I'd be walking around all in black, and yet I wouldn't understand why I was getting the reaction I got, why people were thinking I was very hard, why people thought I was not approachable, why they couldn't understand if I had this really silly side, why was it that I was looking very stern and no nonsense and all of that. If I then went and did the draping, I would have seen straight away, oh, the spring colours suit me better. Even though I came out with a smaller spring in the questionnaire and more winter, what that means is is that I'm living more out of my winter side than my spring side. It means that my primary is spring, but I have far more winter tendencies, or I am showing up more winter tendencies. Now, that would have happened when I first started learning this, because when I was first learning this, and I look back to how I was when I was in IT, I was the woman that always wore black. I talk about it in the book, The Ice Maiden, that's what they would call me. And they would say to me, when we're out, you're really fun, but at work, you're so stern. Because being a tall blonde woman and you're managing a team of 30 men, if I had bounced in and been all spring, would they have taken me seriously? Now, I know that I'm spring primary, and I know that because what I've done over the years is I've allowed my spring side to come out more. I've allowed myself to soften a lot more. I've allowed myself, you may have even seen the change, I've allowed myself to have a lot more fun and give myself permission to have a lot more fun. Yet I know when to be serious. I know when to be focused. It's the winter focus that got me through writing this book. It's the winter focus that gets me through a lot of my work and being able to really hone in. But I know when to do it. I know when to bring what side out. But I am definitely spring primary.
Okay.
All right.
So you can only really work that out by putting the colours against you.
Yeah. Because if
Did we have a look at some of these colours then?
Well, look, give me this.
Are any of these?
Give me this.
Autumn.
Oh, right. If I put this against my face, this will just completely kill me. This will kill me. If I wore this, right? So, when I did fashion design and I made my own clothes, I do have autumn envy. There is no doubt about it. This I love. So you can actually love a colour palette and it not be you. So every time I pick up clothes and I go, oh my God, I love this, I thought, oh well, if I love it, clearly it's going to be autumn. So when I was doing my fashion design and working, I made a top in this green, and it was all draped. It was beautiful, and every time I wore it, I felt so proud because it was gorgeous. And I would wear it to work, and some point during the day, people would say to me, Karen, you look really, really sick. Are you sure you're okay? Do you need to go home? I'm fine.
That's a useful tool, though.
Yeah, I'm fine.
You need an afternoon off.
Like, what do you mean I'm sick? What do you mean I can't wear these? What do you mean I can't wear these colours? There's nothing wrong. I'm fine. They're going, honestly, all the colours drained out of your face. So that is what autumn does. But if I wear spring, can you hold it for a second? I'm going to be covered in clothes in a second. I hope this shows up well in the thing. But then as soon as if I put a spring colour on, my whole face just lights up and glows. So there is a big difference just from a yellow having black in it and then having no black in it. But a lot of people, when they wear spring colours, look really cheap and tacky because it just cheapens them. But they put this colour on and they look really, really rich. So it really is down to then doing draping. I mean, if I black, oh my God, it's even putting it on me, my hair's everywhere. Even putting it on me just makes I don't want to close my eyes because it just makes me feel funny.
Does it?
Yeah, it makes me really feel funny now because I haven't worn black for over 10 years.
Yeah.
Even if I went black to a funeral, I wouldn't wear black.
You wouldn't?
No. I'd wear a dark colour, like I'd wear my dark blue, but I wouldn't wear black.
Yeah.
But this is just, I feel sick now. I just got this real sick feeling in my stomach. But I'm quite...
You're in tune with it very well.
Yeah, but only because it's through practice. Like, I don't have a super skill.
Yeah.
I love when people say, oh yeah, but you know more. Well, it's only because I've been doing this, but I don't, I'm no different to anybody else.
But it must have heightened your sense of awareness about it though, because you're working so deeply with it. Like for me, I look at these and, if I was going to pick clothes to wear, I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah, but it's practice. It is practice. And it's just, and the more we connect to who we are and the more we notice So in the book, I talk about the different personality types and different personality traits. And the more that you, this is going to sound a bit weird. I don't want to sound weird, but you give yourself permission, because you know. But the more that you just go, actually, I'm just going to sit in more who I am, and if people don't like it, it doesn't matter. So if I'm more playful, or I've shown my more silly side, or more, whatever, the more spring side, if people don't like it,
They're not your people.
They're not my people, and you know what? It's okay, because how many of us live our lives making other people happy instead of who we really are. And this is when I said to you, I was 3/4 of the way through the book before I realised really what the book was about, and I was actually able to name what it was. It's about coming home to self. So colour. If we live in our true colour palette and our true colour and our design style, and we show up authentically from the outside, who we are on the inside, because all we're doing is bringing that out, then people know, they know who we are, they know what they're going to get. And if we then put that into our home, then our home becomes an expression of us. And then we're living more authentically. And I've had clients that came and done colour consultations. Their relationships have come closer together. Others have broken up. Others have become more confident. I had this lady in her 60s who was an absolute punk, bikey rocker. And when we finished the whole consultation, she really thought, oh my God, this really is who I am. We just, we tweaked the colour palette a bit. To make sure she had the right colour palette, but her design style, everything, and she's like, yeah, this is me. And so many women in their 50s and 60s, my mum and dad always told me I was wrong. They always told me I shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, and I've been doing that all my life. And they said, now you've explained to me that I've been living out of my secondary because that's what my parents approved of and not what I wanted. And these, they're all grown women. So it's never too late for us to really explore who we are. And I think then, if we all showed up authentically and really who we were, what a happier place it would be.
I was worried after doing the quiz, because obviously having a completely navy blue wardrobe, wear it day in, day out, and I was reading about the negative attributes of it, and it said,
or the adverse, because negatives does sound negative, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Can be seen as cold, aloof, and unfriendly. And then I was like, that's not me. No. I'm not cold, aloof, and unfriendly. I like the positive
there's a distance, and it also can create.
Yeah, and I feel that sometimes. I do feel that if I'm in the school playground, maybe with the other mums, I can sense a reticence to come and talk to me. And sometimes I like that, obviously it's first thing in the morning. But other times I'm like, why are they all like chatty over there, and I'm here on my own?
Yeah.
And that's obviously the signal that I've been sending out. But for me, this colour makes me feel safe. It makes me feel balanced. For me, this is like a cosy hug. This is what makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
And I like the positive attributes that you explained in the book, that it was to come across as knowledgeable and authoritative, was it?
Yeah, authoritative sharing of knowledge. Where black is authoritative, one way, you do as you're told.
Right.
The darker blue is more of
and that is me. But the adverse attributes, that's not me. And at the moment, I am thinking of opening, well, I'm not thinking of it, I'm doing it, opening a creative co-working space for female business owners. So I was like, I cannot rock up every day wearing a colour that makes me look unfriendly, aloof, and
But remember
cold.
but that's also how, if I saw you, I wouldn't take it as that. But if you were also aloof and you were distant and you didn't come up and speak to me, the colour is reinforcing your behaviour.
Sometimes I am like that though, because I'm not naturally really overconfident.
Yeah.
So if it's a group of people that I don't know, I might not make the move to go and talk to them. I might wait for them to come to me, which they might not. They think that I'm.
Yeah, because you're so this bunch of ladies in the playground. Your behaviour is being reinforced by your colour. So you're feeling maybe, I can't go up and say hello to them. So you're not going up. So you are staying at a distance. They're looking at you with what you're wearing, and subconsciously going, well, actually, does she not want to come over? Oh, she's keeping her distance.
Yeah.
So it's it's always about the behaviour is backed up and demonstrated by the colours. So I meet a lot of women in networking that wear black and red.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you saw a lady wearing black and red, she's basically, I'm in control, I've got the power. But also there is because in nature when we see an animal there's black and red, it is keep your distance, otherwise I'll bite.
Yeah.
So they are often women that do stand on their own. But because I know and from my own experience, most women that wear black and red are actually just using it as a bit of a shield, a bit of an armour, as a bit of protection.
Yeah.
So I will go up and speak to them, and they are typically the warmest. Yeah. They might come across as a little bit gruff sometimes, a little bit, but you get under the belly. And
you must have loads of fun with this, trying to work out.
Yeah, they're soft, gentle, sometimes vulnerable women. A little bit scared, but they because a networking event is not a natural place at all. And if I could push myself into the wall, I would. I'm like, I don't want to be here, and I sometimes have a face that looks really hard because it's like this is not normal. But if I see someone wearing magenta and black, black and red, yellow and black, I will make a beeline to them because I know now from experience they're usually the softest, warmest, gentlest women that are just wanting a bit of protection. So we don't realise that we are communicating all of the time with all the colour choices that we make. Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
And weirdly, before we agreed to do this interview, I had started to have feelings. I'd started looking online at clothes and didn't automatically filter navy blue. I was looking at these kind of pink shades. And
should we hold that up so we can
this kind of a pink shade here. And also greens that aren't really on any of these, but more of a I suppose maybe a more kind of grey version of that, like really deep kind of mossy greens. And I was sort of thinking, oh, that's exciting. Could I branch out again into different coloured clothes? And for me, that's quite a big thing because it was like I'm starting to feel emotionally ready to bring other colours back into my wardrobe. Because what happened was I had my children, life became chaotic, and I've never been that interested in clothes, so it didn't really matter to me that much. But I thought, how can I simplify this process? And also having children, you get dirty all the time, so it was just ease. I could change a top and all other tops in my wardrobe matched whatever I was wearing.
Because it was all navy.
Travelling, when you've got so much stuff for kids, it's so much easier. I literally take about 4 outfits, but I can mix and match everything, so I can take a tiny suitcase for myself. And it just became easier to filter out that noise and that decision of what am I going to wear today. Whereas now my children are a little bit older.
So because you had to focus solely really on your children, and then colour decisions were too much.
Yeah, it was just too much. So I just thought if I chuck it all out, I'll just have this small capsule wardrobe. Everything will be easier, and I've embraced it and I've loved it. I've really loved it. But there is a little bit sneaking back in now that's saying to me, the kids are a bit older. They're not so messy anymore. You can free yourself now and go back to exploring those colours. Which is quite exciting. It used to scare me, but now it's quite exciting.
You're exploring emotions, but you're exploring the other emotional sides of yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you, and that's the other thing that when women always say, oh, I've got a cupboard full of clothes, stuffed full of clothes, but I've got nothing to wear, what they're really saying is emotion, how I'm feeling or how I want to feel, that colour emotion isn't in my wardrobe because it's all black or it's all black and grey and white or whatever. And when you think about colour as musical notes, we have days that we feel great, days that we kind of just we need to feel emotionally just safe, or we just want to feel calm and relaxed, or we just want to shut everything out, or we want to soothe our mind. Whatever this is, these are all different. They're all different musical notes, but they're also all different colours. There's highs and lows. And to have a mix of those in your wardrobe. So don't have all your colours really intense and saturated and strong. You need so if you have a pink, like a soft pink, you might then also, the marriage of that is a red. If you have a light blue, you might also want to have a turquoise and then have a stronger blue. Because a light blue, I shouldn't say sky, a light blue, a mid blue and a dark blue, these all have a different emotional
So every
pull.
colour palette has the mid, the dark and the light.
So there's only there are thousands of colours that go into this colour group.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This is just a very small version
Yeah.
because if I brought that, it would
Yeah.
take up the whole room.
But you
more.
do consultations like that, don't you? So I could come to you, which I feel like I now need to do, and say, Karen, can you please, like, do my colours, work out
Yeah.
what I need to go shopping for, and
Yeah.
you would give me something where I could
Yeah.
go
So
shopping and be like, yes.
yeah. So in the 3 hours, it is the consultation, so I can work out what are your two personality types. Then I do the draping. So it's obviously in the book for you to do yourself. So maybe I should talk about in terms of the book. So you do the quiz, and then you see what two come out the most, right? Not because this one's high or whatever. What's the two most? Then you get your colours out, and then you start draping the colours, and you start looking at the change in your face. Does it light you up? Does it drain you? How is it that you feel? Don't go start asking all your friends, because everyone will make it about them, even though they're talking about you.
Oh, right.
They will say what they like, but they're not. But only you
Yeah.
can see what is happening. Then, when you've worked out what is your primary or secondary, you can create your own palette by looking at colour chips, paint chips. You can make your own palette up. You might even have. I can hear people going to go, oh, we can't do that. But if you have little bits of fabric or you have something that has the colour on it, you can actually start making your own palette. And again, in the book, as you're going further along, you want the lighter, you want the soothing end of that colour and the stimulating end of that colour. Because therefore, all your emotions are being covered by a light, a soothing, a mid, and a more saturated. But of course, when I do it, I've got all the little colour swatches, and I put it onto a concertina, and I said, these are your ideal colours to wear for work. These are the colours to wear when you want to relax. These are the colours to wear when you want to, be self-soothed or some self-care or some, this is the colours you wear when you want to really get noticed.
Yeah.
And then there's always one colour that when that person drapes that colour, they just look amazing. They look amazing, and even they can see it. So the whole face, everything changes, and I'm like, wow, that is the colour that if you just want to walk into a room and everyone's going to stop and look at you, you have it in a dress or whatever, that is your wow colour. So look, I know it's a bit tricky for people to do this for themselves, and that's the bit with my editor. I was like, oh my gosh, how hard is this going to be?
Yeah.
And they're going to misunderstand it because I'm this perfectionist and I want everyone to come out right. And the editor was saying, Karen, you've just got to let that go.
Yeah. But for anyone who wants to dig deeper, like if you're really into that and you really want to know your exact colour palette, then they can come and get a consultation.
They can.
Yeah.
But this book, this book's going around the world.
Yeah.
So this is being picked up by 12 different languages.
I saw from your
So
social media.
five languages have already come out, and because I want this to go around the world.
Yeah.
So that,
Spread the message.
the chances of me doing consultations.
Well, yeah, okay.
But
there are other people who can help with this.
Yeah. There are a couple of other people that I know that do this system and do this work. So yes, but if people could be empowered and do this themselves, and they learn to trust and understand what their own colour palette is, and then their own design style, and how they can mix the design style together, so everything that they're wearing is perfectly them. That's really
is this
empowering.
a good place to start? I've got a friend who they bought their house a few years ago and have done nothing, and they hate the decor, but they don't know where to start,
It's a
what to
great
do.
place.
And I said to her, what colours do you like? She's like, I don't know, maybe blue. But she didn't know what shade of blue. Yeah, she had no
Which
idea.
blue, which intensity,
Yeah. So
and why.
So if she did the quiz, and you talk in the book as well, don't you, about getting partners to do it? So it's not just one, not just me working out my colour palette and I do the whole house. It's trying to get
Should we say why we're looking over
I'm
there?
looking over here to my husband's behind the camera.
Because you've done that a couple.
If I keep looking at him,
You've done it a couple of times. I thought they're probably wondering why you're looking
why
at
am
me.
I looking over here? Yeah, so like you could both do the quiz.
Yeah.
And come to a compromise. And
Yeah.
find out if there's a personality that there's a crossover.
Crossover. So it could be. So if somebody is a autumn spring, and their partner is a winter autumn, then you can see where the commonalities are.
Yeah.
And with the colour palettes, someone will need to compromise.
Yeah.
But it's who can live in which colour palette. Like, so if I had a partner and they said, oh, you know, I'm spring primary, but they were autumn primary, I could live in the light end of autumn, because that would be, these have too much black in them, but I could live right in the lighter. So if you pick up that pink pillow.
Yeah.
So that's the lighter end. That's the lighter end of, I'll just show you so you can see that it does harmonise.
Oh, you see, I love that combination.
Yeah, so you can see that harmonises straight away.
Yeah, I love it.
So probably even lighter, like this cup. This is an autumn.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I could live in the lighter end.
Yeah.
But then I would probably say to them, oh, but could we make the interiors and the furnishing really fun? Could we have lots of circles and lots of, because that's a spring shape, and lots of balls and bubbles and things? Because then that would bring in more of my personality as well.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want is for someone to feel that they've been left out, because
But
then
how
they don't.
How do you know? Because when we were decorating, like ours is not particularly interested in interiors and just lets me do what I want. But how do I know that the colours I'm picking, because they make me feel good, aren't having an adverse effect on him?
So when you work out what your primary and secondary are to both, and then you sit down and you look at the colours.
So he's got to do the quiz. You've got to do
You've got to do the quiz, whether you like it or not. He has a big smiley face. We've made him laugh. Then it's so that's what I'm saying. I know, as much as I love the stronger end, it would be too intense for me. But I know I could live in the lighter end, because autumn goes right from the very light end, which are spring colours with just a tiny bit of black in it. You can just see that the clarity has been dulled, and it goes right through to really dark, the darker end. And I would say I can live at the lighter end.
Okay.
And so you would find a commonality. You'd find a commonality. And then if there was a room like a study or a office or something, then I would make that in spring, because then I know that would be my room.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you can kind of bring it in together. And I know a lot of I'm not going to be at all popular saying this, but I know a lot of parents say to me, I don't decorate the children's room in their colours. I want it to flow throughout the whole house, so they just get
about the flow of the house.
Yes, so they get all the colours that are in the other rooms. And I said, well, it might not have the right reaction or response for kids if they are in, if you've just painted your child's room grey, or you've painted it in. There's one child. The mother said, I painted the bedroom beige. All different kinds of beiges, because that's what the house is. But I can't get my son out of red. Every day, all he wants to do is wear his red clothes, and he's got a whole cupboard full of clothes. And he if I try anything else, he basically screams because he wants to be in red. I said, do you think it might be a reaction to being in so much beige and so much brown that he wants the energy? He needs this energy. She thought the whole thing was a load of rubbish, which is fine. And I don't know what happened from that, but at least I planted the seed.
Yeah.
I would have loved for her to have come back and said,
We've repainted.
It's a different
situation.
Or we understand now, or we've put more colour in, or something. But it was brown furniture. She said it was beige walls. It was basically the whole child, and the child was 3.
Oh.
Yeah. So I said, well, children are communicating, even though he can't explain and he can't say. And he does get angry, does get upset if you want him in some other colour than red. But what he's done is, he's gone to the extreme end, because red is the colour that is about physical it's physically stimulating.
Mhm.
It's the equivalent of us having a double espresso.
Yeah.
And if we're in red all the time, can you imagine? It's just always on,
Yeah.
on. And that is what he's doing. And clearly he must feel that he needs it.
Yeah.
So
Powerful, isn't it?
It is
Really
very, very powerful. Really powerful.
Excellent. So, last question for you.
Yep. I'm just putting this here because actually these three.
I love that combination.
These
my
three are in the
walls at
same
home
colour group.
Are a similar colour to that in my living room, and that's why I've bought these
Ah.
cushions. So these were my new
Oh,
cushions.
perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
All those cushions that arrived yesterday, and
Wow.
the green is slightly darker than this.
Yeah.
Just,
there you
but
go.
It's very similar, but slightly darker. And
So this
I would
is
never have bought these
important.
colours, but I just
Yeah.
thought against the green, that's going to look really nice.
So you are intuitively beginning to feel, and so wherever you feel that, wherever you feel like, oh,
Yeah.
like I go, people think, I go, oh my god, that's really yummy. Like that's my response. If
Yeah.
colours work, even if it's not in my colour group,
Yeah.
if it's in the summer or the winter, if they work together, I go, oh, that's really, because I can start to taste it. I don't have synesthesia, and it's not a taste. There's just something in my mouth
Yeah.
starts to water, and that's because I can feel.
Yeah.
See, this doesn't
That
work.
doesn't work, no.
No,
No,
see, straight.
yeah.
Oh,
I can see this now.
yeah. Exactly. So that's whatever that kind of reaction is.
Yeah.
Trust that gut feel, and then when you put things together, whatever your reaction is, like you're saying, mine is like, oh my god, that's so yummy. That is whatever yours is. That
It's
trust.
a feeling of balance for me. When I feel balanced, then I know that it's.
Yeah. So you might get something.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my students, when the colours don't work, her shoulders go up. She has a physical reaction going up, and for me, it's also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh my god. But lately it has changed to this yummy mouth-watering thing. So I just go with whatever happens. But then if you went and stuck that in,
Yeah.
like it
No.
doesn't, and that's how you,
Mm-hmm.
and if you've got something that you can take along with you, so even if you start making up your own little, so in that book, if you make up your chart, and you get even paint chips, but put the colours, so like see how I
Yeah,
butted
next
the
to each
colours next to each other, but because that's where you feel the harmony. And if you even have a board or you have something that you can fold up and take shopping with you, but you know they're all the right colours,
Yeah.
then as you go and buy something, you just go, oh, I wonder if this is right. Then you lay it over the colours. So you lay it over it, and you go, oh yeah, that really, yeah, I can feel the harmony in that.
Yeah.
If you go and grab this, and then you go, oh,
Ew.
see,
Yeah.
ew. Yeah, so that's a good response. So you just go, no, that doesn't work. So then you know
Yeah.
that it doesn't work. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So-
oh, my hair is just falling out everywhere.
I would like to know now, for
Fab.
people who haven't read the book, or even those of us who have, what would you say are your 3 top takeaways? Like, what do we really need to take away from this book?
Read the book, read the book, read the book.
That's cheating. That is cheating. Where is the book? Here's the book.
That is cheating.
So-
Before I forget, because you couldn't come to the book launch,
I didn't know.
so this is a bookmark. So you can have that bookmark.
Oh, fabulous.
It's
Thank
a
you.
bookmark that I made for everyone who came and got book. What would be my 3 takeaways?
Yeah, the top 3 things that we need to know from this book.
Well, even if not the book, is trust your own gut instinct. If you think you're following something because it's on trend or it's on fashion or because your neighbour, even if you still decide to do that, at least be consciously aware that that is what you're doing. Also look at why you're picking a colour. So you still might want to wear navy, but at least you're now conscious of why you're wearing it. And when you know which is your right colour palette, then you can think, oh, okay, so now I realise I wear navy for this reason, but in my colour palette, this is the dark blue. I'll wear the dark blue of that colour palette because I'm still getting what I need, but it will resonate with you better, and you're likely to get a better response from the women in the the playground, and you might likely have more confidence and then actually walk up and speak to them, because you will notice that your behaviour will change when you wear the right colours. And this might be one a little bit too far ahead, but all of your colours, when your colours are all from the same colour group, if you threw all of your colours on the bed, all your clothes, you could close your eyes and pick anything out and they would all go together. So when you say that you just want everything to go together because it's one colour, I promise you, because this is what my clients I've had who've done colour consultations, even ones that have had 5, 6, 7 years ago, they say that they just pull anything out of the wardrobe, a top, a shirt, or a pair of, and because they all harmonise, they all work. So you don't have to stick just with one colour. And that's the beauty of this, is that when you know your colours. And when I go shopping, I walk in and I will, normally on a turn of a dime, I'm out again. And my friends go, I thought you were going shopping and looking at that store. I say, I have. Because I've scanned for the colour first. Now, spring is the hardest, like I was saying to you before. Trying to get spring colours in this country is an absolute nightmare. But I will walk into a store, I will scan, and I'm out.
Yeah.
But if I see something, I'll go straight to it. Then I look at the material, then I look at the texture, then I look at the fit, I look at the cut, I look at all of those other things. And if they are all right, then I'm likely to buy them. But if they're not, but that's how quickly I can go shopping. And also, what you wear, the colours you wear, because they are you and they're the colours then that go in your home, it's so much easier for you to be able to know what colours to get. It's not like all of a sudden it's a whole different palette.
Yeah.
And really, don't you want a home that you can sit and you glow in your own home? Because it's like your home is like your own, you're sitting in your colour palette, and it is a reflection of you. So to me, it's just this wonderful, seamless thing. But the biggest thing that people normally have, when they say they're scared of colour, is normally they're scared of themselves. And they're scared of themselves and showing up as themselves. So that is the bit that I would absolutely say, do with such gentleness and do with such kindness to yourself, because this is a bit by bit by bit. Some people, some clients I've had have gone home and thrown everything out and just went, some winter women are like, everything out, not winter women, autumn women, everything out, and they start again. And they just want this complete clear out. Others take years to work black out of their wardrobe because of what black means to them. And as they work on themselves, as they become closer to themselves, as they have more confidence, slowly. And if they pick up the black again and they wear it, I said, that's all right. Just be aware of why you're doing it, but just make a promise to yourself. If you aren't in the winter group, make a promise to yourself just not to buy any more black. So start buying the colours in your colour palette, even if you're finding you're still wearing those other colours, and phase it in. So just be really, really, really gentle. Because, with your grey, the grey blog, when you looked at the comments, there were quite a lot of, these weren't the words, but it's like, I love grey, how can you say this,
I haven't felt any of the effects you've talked
blah,
about.
blah, 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 blah. But quite often, it's like, if I turned around and said to them, you can't wear grey anymore, it's like I've pulled the emotional rug from under them, and I've pulled the whole safety net away. You can't do that to people. You can't say, oh, no.
That's how I'd feel if you said to me, I can't wear navy anymore. I'd be like,
and then what would you do? You'd go into distress. You would completely say everything.
I'd probably default to black.
You'd default, and you would throw this away, and then what you would probably do is become even more withdrawn. You don't get anywhere doing that with me, with people. So, and I learnt a lot from that grey, when I read all the comments with that grey, I went, now I know what they're saying. They think I'm saying pull the emotional safety net away. And I kind of almost wanted to go back to you and say, can I read rewrite some of this blog because I've realised now.
We could do a note at the end.
We should do it.
Quite often, years afterwards, like, it's the same if I've reviewed a mattress, you get a lot of people who are quite angry that you said you liked a mattress and they don't like it. And I have to comment and say that my body's different to your body. I don't have a back issue that you have.
Yes.
I like a softer mattress or a harder mattress, and people get really quite emotive about it.
Yes.
But I can't tell you to buy a certain mattress. Like, this was my experience. So it's very difficult. But I have to go back and add like updates to those.
So I think we should do that on the grey one, because I think that's reading the comments. That's what people have found, and that's why I love writing blogs and talking to people, because it's real experience. And when you have this real life experience and real life comments, I can take the psychology, I can take the knowledge that I have, and then I'm able to frame that and say, okay, now I understand this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And with colour psychology, because we are always evolving as human beings, emotionally, we are becoming more emotionally intelligent, I think, as well. And more emotionally aware, that the psychology will still hold strong. It's the way that we use the colour and our stories around that will be evolving and adapting, and that's what I love about this, is because it's a never-ending topic. And at the very beginning, when I said I was the ultimate why child, so why they're having this response, what's going on for them, what's happening, what's going on in the world, what's going on in their life, and taking the big story and then distilling that down. So that's what I always love about this, and the more people that comment.
We could possibly see a sequel then.
Well, I do have a couple of ideas for another book, which is the follow-on. Even though it's called The Little Book and it is absolutely chock-a-block, the amount of information I had to leave out was the Little Book could have been a doorstopper. So there's definitely more, and the more people that share their experiences with me from this book, which I just love, then it helps me to enrich and to what my studies, and then also impart that back. So the response has been amazing. The response has been
great.
Absolutely.
I had no doubt.
Well, no, you've been a great advocate from the beginning. So for that, I am truly grateful.
Well, thank you ever so much for coming to speak to me today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we shall share this. We're also going to do a giveaway, aren't we?
Yes.
A giveaway. So check below this video, maybe above, depending where I place it, to see the giveaway, and then you can win your own copy of this. So,
brilliant. Thank you.
Excellent. Bye.